Our readings began today with the lines from the prophet Isaiah that the people that walked in darkness has seen a great light. On those who live in a land of deep shadow, a light has shone. And I think as we come to this Christmas, we might be more in touch with the dark cloud that hangs over our human existence than maybe other years. The dark cloud of the pandemic and the restrictions upon all of our lives and the fear and the danger of all of that has hung over us all year. At times that cloud has seemed to thin and there was a bit of light poking through, and it maybe seemed that we would be able to enjoy Christmas virtually COVID-free, but again that cloud seems to have darkened in the last few weeks here in Sydney, and the frustration of that darkness meets us again. But the way that these words talk about the light and the darkness is that the light shines into the darkness. If we aren't in touch with darkness, the weakness, the fragility of our human life, then what need do we have of a Savior? What need do we have of God's light to illumine our situation if things are all just good and well? So perhaps it can be a gift for us to be aware of our lack of control and the frustration that is a constant factor in our life. And I also think we can find some solidarity in Mary's experience, Mary and Joseph's experience in the gospel today, which begins talking about the census that's going to be taken in the whole of the empire. And I can imagine Mary and Joseph thinking like, could this have happened at a worse time? We're trying to have a baby here, and you want us to walk halfway across the country so that you can put our names onto a list, so that you can know who all your citizens are. There's a frustration in that as well, which is the very frustration and messiness of human life that Jesus has been born into. But we come to celebrate that a Savior is born to us. The light has shone into this darkness. So I don't want to focus on the darkness too much tonight. But the readings do show this contrast between the light and the darkness, the light shining into the darkness as well. In the gospel, we see the poverty and the simplicity, the meanness of the manger and the stable, and Mary and Joseph not being able to find a place to stay. We see that contrasted with the majesty of the angels singing the glory of God. See as well the poverty of the shepherds with the angels and the glory of God that shines all around them. And I think Luke has done something very special. Luke, the author of our gospel, has juxtaposed the birth of Jesus with the shepherds in this text. And if we think about the whole of salvation history and all the Bible, there's plenty to be said about the way that shepherds relate with God. God is spoken of as a shepherd. We all know Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. David, whose house Jesus is born into, was a shepherd before he was made to be a king. Many times the prophets rail against the leaders of the country, saying that you are false shepherds, you're not feeding your sheep. And God, in his promising of a Messiah, often uses that theme of raising up a shepherd. And these shepherds are described in this line that has really struck me. It says that in the countryside close by, there were shepherds who lived in the fields and took it in turns to watch their flocks during the night. That's the simple little description of who these shepherds are and how they live. And I just wanted to share one little joke with you. I said the 6 p.m. Mass this evening for the families, and there were lots of kids outside. It was great to celebrate with them, and I had a few more jokes. I'll spare you them because you'll just groan. But I'll share you one. Why did the shepherd win an award? Any takers? No? No? If you're at home and you know the answer, feel free to shout it to your TV. Because he was outstanding in his field. Yeah, a few laughs. I'm happy with that. These shepherds lived in the fields with their sheep. Now, the point of a shepherd is to care for the sheep, yeah? That's their job description. They're going to look after the sheep, care for them, feed them when they're hungry, lead them to water when they're thirsty, tend to them when they're sick, protect them when they're in danger. And if there were awards for shepherds, maybe there are awards for shepherds, I'm not aware of them, they should go to the shepherds who are actually out in the fields with their flock, not the ones who are sitting at home on the couch, more worried about their own comfort than the comfort of the sheep, or not the ones who are traveling to distant countries doing whatever else that they're doing, not caring after their sheep. These shepherds lived in the fields amongst their sheep. And just the same, we can apply this to, as Luke contrasts the birth of our Savior Jesus and these shepherds. We think of God as our shepherd, as all these texts I mentioned refer to. We know that he cares for us, that he knows all of our needs when we're hungry and thirsty, when we're sick and in need of care. He knows when we're in harm and he protects us. But there's one more thing that, because I think we could imagine these days that a shepherd could, with all the high-tech 21st century stuff, care for his sheep and be aware of all their needs by, cameras out in the fields or GPS trackers on all of his sheep, or heart rate monitors or something like that. He could sit at home at his computer and care for the sheep. But what does he gain by being out there in the field with the sheep? There's one more important thing that they gain, and it's how do the sheep feel if the shepherd's not present? They can feel afraid if danger does come. They can feel abandoned because they don't know if this shepherd is caring for them anymore. Or maybe they could even forget that there is a shepherd that cares for them and just go about caring for themselves and finding what food and drink they need. And God could simply care for us from a distance from heaven because he knows all our needs and he can do anything. He can just watch us from heaven and see our needs and care for us and protect us. But would we know him then? No. Our good shepherd not only wants to care for us, but Jesus, the good shepherd, reveals the face of the Father, reveals to us the care that he has for us, the love that he has for us, the love that he has for us that's more concerned about being with us and being close to us and tending to our needs than staying in heaven comfortable on his own needs. So God does care for us from heaven, but as we celebrate Jesus born for us today, we see that God has come into the fields with his flock. He's shown his love for us by coming into this lowly, fragile experience of us, his sheep. The humble vulnerability of our weak flesh, the field in which his sheep live, God has come to be amongst us. He's not a lazy shepherd who's wandering away somewhere else or watching over us from a distant hill somewhere, but we don't even know where. He comes to be with us, to be close to us, to be able to reach out and touch us, to show us God's love, to be able to look upon us with eyes of mercy, with human eyes, to reveal God's eyes that look upon us. And he would reveal the heart of the Father that has beaten for us since before we were even born. He reveals that love for us in a human heart, in the tiny, quiet heartbeat of a baby born in this vulnerable situation on the other side of the country from where his parents actually lived, in a stable. He has come into the weakness, the vulnerability, the darkness that it sometimes seems of our human experience, so that we may know that he loves us and he cares for us. so that we can be sure that we are not alone. Because in Jesus, in the baby which we celebrate born tonight, we can see the Father's love for us, because a Savior is born for us.